This is Grocery Talks with food distribution guys Richard Baker, where we provide food manufacturers with a greater understanding of Canada's grocery sector. And now, here's our host, Richard Baker.
Today, I'm pleased to be joined on the line by Mr. Jeff Kearney of Kearney Consulting. Welcome, Jeff, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So, how did you arrive into a consulting role, Jeff?
That's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked that, Richard. I think I was always meant to do something independent and entrepreneurial. I come from large corporate life, so started way back in the day with McCain Foods. And from there I held roles at Nestle. And got involved in Maple Leaf Consumer Foods for a while, and worked for a company called Urzone Foods for about 16 years, and that gave me a broad background in health and wellness. Gave me a broad background into grocery and food service. I held major roles within food service, director roles. Those are the kind of the director, senior director roles in sales. And I went to Grupo Bimbo after my time. I kind of had a yearning to go back to corporate life after my time at Urzone. So I went to Grupo Bimbo. And that was quite a ride. Grupo Bimbo was Canada Bread at the time. And I was a single point of contact for Cisco Canada and had some larger accounts. So I was only there for about, 14, 15 months. And the division blew up. They decided to shut the division down. And I was like, you know what, I'm kind of done working for people. I really want to get out there and make a difference of my own brand, and start consulting. So I started consulting. Believe it or not, most of my clients were in the health and wellness sector, not so much food service.
Okay.
And so that's really I've been concentrating a lot of my efforts with COVID, especially happening. The food service thing was kind of gone by the wayside. So I'm doing more consulting now in health and wellness in that sector in grocery, believe it or not, and a little bit of food service. So that's kind of how I arrived at it. I love what I do because it's startup all the time. So I take companies, I charge, I work differently than a broker. I manage myself as a national sales manager for those companies, and I charge retainers for that service. So I will get them to a certain level, and then either they want to take on brokerage or they want to keep me on as a consultant in that role. So I take them from startup, from inception, and then I bring them right to market. And it's been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I just love it. I love what I do. I don't take any more than 4 or 5 clients on at a time. So I can really give them the focus that they need.
Excellent.
So that's kind of how I arrived at it. So there you go.
So what is Jeff Kearney's consulting point of difference?
I think the difference over myself and I'm going to say over brokerage is that I don't take on too much, right?
Okay.
Because I don't have the bandwidth to take on 20 principals, and I wouldn't want to take on 20 principals.
Provide the attention to detail that your client's brand deserves.
Yeah, they really, the brands need attention. They need everything from feet on the street, which is what I do, to building relationships with the distributors, to actually the calls, like with the retailers, with the food service providers, and the health and wellness stores that are out there. And it's a nice wide breadth of what I can do. It's just more attention.
Excellent.
And I don't want to ever get involved in taking on more than I can do. I've had a couple opportunities where people have asked me to broker things, and I'm never comfortable with it because I don't ever feel that I can give it the attention it deserves.
Yeah.
That's the big difference, right? It's say what you do what you say. And, I provide an awful lot of detailed reporting. I provide an awful lot of, more hands-on attention and realistic expectations to what's actually going to happen in the market. Whether they like to hear it or not, they have to know what is realistic out there.
Correct. So for a small business that's looking to get it, what would you tell them? What would you say is the main difference between a broker and a distributor?
It's a very good question. I think the broker is an extension of your sales force. And I'm not saying that the distributor is not an extension of your sales force, but I think it's a very small part of the role. And a lot of them do better. Some do better jobs than others. But I mean, if a distributor's carrying 5,000-6,000 lines, it's very difficult for them to concentrate on brands. They would know a little bit about things, but they're not going to know a lot about the brand. And I think that's where the broker can help and assist the distributor to move cases through to the client. Let me put it to you that way. They're there as a resource, and they're there as someone that the distributor rep can lean on to. Because I think a lot of the distributor reps are fighting logistic battles, especially with COVID, what's happening right now. I mean, they're lucky, I don't know if the supply chain's even caught up yet. I'm hearing there's lots of different things going on, right? So
I've also heard, and I've also learned over the past year that distributors are now looking that if they're willing to take you on, it's either that you have a sales head like yourself in charge, or that you've got some business that you can transfer over to them.
Correct. Yeah. And I think there's always going to be that game. I know in the health market, a lot look for exclusivity. And I don't think that's a bad thing for a lot of startup brands. I think that's a very good way to go. And I'm dealing with one that we have an exclusive with the distributor, and it's going very well, because, then they feel the love, I think, and they feel that they get the attention, and they're showing a point of difference in the market. I think it's a great way to grow a brand, right?
Yeah. So when you do speak with these new principals, what do you seek out when you're speaking with new principals?
That's a very good question. I get a lot of referrals, and I think are they ready for the market? And, let's not kid ourselves. Do they have the money to invest in the market, right? Because there is a level of investment to get into the market. They need a marketing plan. They need to spend the dollars with the distributors and or retailers. And if they don't have those dollars, I hate to sound brutal, but, I just wish them luck in other areas, because if you're not willing to invest and you don't have the money to invest in the portfolio, and I get an awful lot of people that come in and they have and God bless them. I mean, they're great entrepreneurs and they come in, but they just don't have the money that it takes to launch within a retail segment or health and wellness segment or even a food service segment. And they don't really understand. They don't understand the channel. They don't understand the retails. They don't understand what marketing is involved. So I look for people that have an understanding of what it takes. And if they have an understanding of what it takes,
correct.
Yeah, that's when I'll get involved. But that's usually, and that's almost a half an hour call with somebody. And I have to vet them, because if they don't have the money to invest, there's not a lot I can do. You need the investment within the channel.
No, it's the same situation for myself as well. The fact is that I've learned how to say no, because it's for myself. It's like, first off, it's education for myself, and it's like, hey, I could take anyone on, I can get them into Loblaws, and I could then 6 months later they're going to get their listing fees for $300,000, and you're going to come asking me, what's this all about? And I'm going to be gone. Well, that's not the way I operate.
Correct.
I'm like yourself. I bet them right in front and say, hey, this is what you're going to anticipate. And, and my job is to make you successful, not to want to bankrupt you.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, I think, between, and I think that's the difference between a lot of brokers will take on lines because they want the cachet of a line, and a line might have a very good cachet, but it might not have any dollars to invest in the channel.
Right. So what do you see as the greatest challenge small businesses face today in today's environment?
For myself?
Yes.
My greatest challenge is doing all the admin work and doing all the, and I need to unload a lot of that, and just the day-to-day tax stuff and that kind of stuff. That's my greatest challenge. I think is that. That's my greatest challenge and I think it's having the fortitude to keep going. I think that's what you gotta, and I think you have to look at every failure as a success.
Yes.
And what did you learn out of that? And that's what I think smart people do. And I've learned the hard way. Like, when I first started consulting, I took on people that couldn't pay me. I took on people that, because I have a huge heart. But I think that's the difference. I think, and I don't think the Canadian government makes it flourishing for people to do business here, right?
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be an awful lot more tax breaks for entrepreneurs getting involved in this. And I think they need to help startups like ourselves or myself to get ready to the market. I think that, and if there was an ongoing kind of mentoring program with the government, that would be good. But, it's cut and paste for everybody,
Exactly.
right? So that's what I think the biggest challenge is. I think that
what do you think is the biggest misconception small business have about the grocery sector or the food service sector?
The companies or just in general?
Just in general, probably in general. You're thinking maybe again is the cost of doing business and not understand what the true cost of doing business in the grocery sector is.
I think that would be the grocery for sure. It's the cost of doing business. I think people think, I think a lot of manufacturers or people think that they have the latest and greatest product, and they might, but they don't. Yep. They're not invested. They don't understand. And I could tell you stories of where people that I know who've spent, on product design, packaging, a marketing it's a small marketing program. And then they don't understand that there's two levels of, they're not going to get into Sobeys warehousing. There's two levels of distribution in there, plus the retailer margin. And they're shocked with that. Yep. Like, it's just that kind of stuff just blows me away. I think that's the biggest misconception is it's the cost of entry. Like, yeah. I'm blown away that people don't do that research first. They should almost reverse engineer it and say, okay, I'm going to deal with Sobeys. What does that look like? And what is the true cost of that? Or I'm going to deal with LCL. What is the true cost of that? Yeah. Or I'm going to get a launch in the health market. What's the true cost of that? Or food service. What is the true cost of entering that market?
I think it's safe to say both of us heard that famous line. If I can just get it on the shelf, I know it will sell by itself.
And it doesn't.
Exactly.
Nothing does. Correct. I don't care.
Not anymore.
No, and maybe at one time it did.
Yes.
But people are looking for value right now, and they're looking, especially in health, you're looking for functional benefits, right?
Yeah.
And in grocery, you're looking for, I like to think you're looking for better for you items than you were, let's say 10 years ago. And you're looking for great value. And if you don't have a value proposition, then you know what? Correct. You're just another Me Too. And I think that's the biggest you have to have a great value proposition behind your brand. I think that's the biggest thing. And if you don't have that, like, what is the value and what's the point of difference? Yeah. And every manufacturer thinks they have a point of difference, and then they haven't really done the research to validate that. And I think that's it. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they think they have. I'll give you a perfect example. A cereal company will come to you and say, "I've got the latest cereal that is going to." It hits all these check marks. And I'm like, well, that's great. But have you done the research? So does Kellogg's. So does,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I think that's.
And they got a little bit, and they've got deeper pockets than you.
Yeah, I think that, and people have to understand, I think there's a room for that's where people need to start at. You need, in my opinion, if you're going to get in the grocery segment, either start in specialty, start small, right? And build a brand up there, right? But understand that first. Then if you're a health and wellness product, start in health, right?
Yes.
But don't think like do baby steps, right? Start where you're not going to fail that badly, right?
And I agree with you 100% on that, Jeff. That's the route I tell people as well. But I also try to tell them though that, hey, make sure your pricing strategy is national right off the bat, and not because smart. Too many stories where they've gone direct to a store and then they want to go to the next level. But I've got now add that 35% distributor markup.
Correct.
And now that price of $2.99 is now $4.99. No. Put your price strategy in so that you are going to be going national, but and then you work backwards from that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That is an excellent point, Richard, and point well taken. Is that they do, and grocery prices are higher in the West. Let's not kid ourselves, but it's like 10%. It's 10% higher. It's not, same on the East Coast. It's 10% higher. My understanding is that Ontario is the most competitive grocery environment in North America. Mm-hmm. Right. I don't know if you've heard that. So, we pay less for groceries than California or New York State, or, and they've got 10 times the population. So that just shows you how competitive it is within this.
Well, all you got to do is look at, for example, go to a Loblaws and you go and look at their toothpaste sector. They've got over 55 different SKUs.
You're kidding.
Wow. In a 16-foot section, and then people go and say, well, I want to go online. Okay, but online brings increased competition.
Correct.
That you're not going to face in store, because they can list it, but they can order it in at the time when the order's placed. They don't have to inventory it.
Yeah, and I think the online strategy is growing. I mean, it has grown, and
Yes.
maybe that's not. I mean, just bouncing ideas off each other, Richard. That's not a place. That's not a bad place to start. But even that, Richard, it's you have to know, like, I mean, if you're going on Amazon, you need an Amazon specialist that can go in there and manipulate Amazon so you are top of mind, right?
Right.
So that requires a strategy, and that requires fees and all the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the thing about it is everything costs money in this business, right? I think that's what you've got to understand. And you need not deep pockets, but you need to understand what's in front of you and the level of investment that's required. And until you have that around your head, then you know what, do like reverse engineer it. Like, I think that's the big thing. Go, like, figure out, to your point, figure out what the SRP is, right? And where you need to be, and understand the levels either of distribution and program and flyer activity and everything else, and then see whether or not you can be profitable, right? That's the big thing.
And in today's environment, recognizing that you've got to be maybe plus or minus 25 cents of the median price point in the category to be actually competitively priced, because consumers do not have the discretionary income now to pay $2 more for a brand.
I think that's true. I think you're bang on with that. Especially center aisle. I think you're absolutely right.
Exactly.
I think you have to be within that. I don't think health's like that, but definitely grocery, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And you have to. I think you need to be on TPR probably 24% of the time to be. Yeah. So.
Well, Jeff, this has been enjoyable. I think it's enjoyable. I think you've given some very in-depth information to small businesses. I hope they'll be listening. That will give them a better understanding of the grocery sector and how to do business in it. And so, if someone want to make contact with you, what's the best way to contact you, Jeff?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't bother with a website, but I mean, they can reach out to me at jeff@jeffkearneyconsulting.com, and I'll spell it for you. It's JEFF@JEFFKEARNEY consulting.com.
Well, thank you again to Jeff Kearney for being our guest today. And if you're a food manufacturer seeking distribution in Canada's grocery sector, please visit our website, www.fooddistributionguy.com. Thanks again for your time, Jeff.
I really appreciate the opportunity today, and thank you, Richard.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.